Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Renee Dalo. And Renee is going to be discussing with us the power of language and how it can transform your business. Now, Renee is the owner of Moxie Bright Events, an award-winning boutique wedding firm in Los Angeles in California. With over 12 years of experience under her belt, Renee turns her knowledge towards the advancement of the industry as a whole with her self-guided wedding management e-course and her popular business-to-business podcast, Talking with Renee Dalo. She is recognised across the industry, having earned a coveted spot on Honeybook's 20 on the Rise list, and she currently serves as the president of WIPA Southern California and has also held leadership roles in the Association of Bridal Consultants and the Rising Tide Society. Welcome, Renee, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. So, I guess the first thing is to find out how the wedding event industry is currently progressing.
Yeah, we've had a tough year, like everyone has. And, here in Southern California, we've had a bit of a whiplash feeling because we were shut down, completely locked down for so long, not able to do any events, like zero, not even 10 people, right? And then all of a sudden, as of 2 days ago, we're like completely open and able to do whatever with no restriction. So whereas a lot of our clients have felt pretty dormant in the last, 15, 18 months, now everyone's like back with a vengeance. Plus we have all these new clients coming to us. So it is kind of, it's a quality problem, but it feels a little chaotic, to be honest. In the last couple of weeks, it's felt, I just wish I could clone myself maybe 2 or 3 times to get everything done. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. We went through that a few months ago, and we're in and out of lockdown, different areas of the country are in and out of lockdown. So I can well imagine them. I know that hospitality and the events industry here were devastated with
that is a great word for it. Yeah, but hopefully people will be able to build back and build back better, with stronger businesses, hopefully, and contracts in place.
Yeah, a lot of them, I think, have just given up because...
we've seen that too, especially in California.
Yeah, it's just because they just couldn't afford to keep going, and, they've gone to other things. They've gone out of hospitality and events because it's just so unpredictable, I guess.
Yeah.
So yes. I guess maybe you could explain now about how language affects business.
Yes. So it's been an interesting journey for me to have this be a topic that I'm passionate about, because when I started in the wedding industry, I came into the wedding industry from entertainment. So I used to be an actor, and, actors don't say their own words, right? Like someone hands us a script, we say the words that we're told, and we don't really think that much about it. Like we can't really have an opinion about it, right? Because they're someone else's words and our job is to translate them. But as a business owner, when I, especially at the beginning, when I was, writing my own copy, building my own website, and like 13 years ago when I started, there weren't a lot of educators who were like, here's an email template, here's a, here's how to write any of these things. It was kind of just, I was kind of winging it as I went. And I always felt like a pretty good writer. I felt like obviously someone who likes to talk. I named my podcast Talk with Renee Dalo. Like I'm a natural talker. But it occurred to me in I think it was probably in year 2, that I really wasn't utilizing a lot of choice with my words. Like I was just going on instinct, right? And I was kind of using the phrases that I'd used in every other part of my life, and the wording, and it, I just thought like I could do better, right? Like this is an area by which I know I can improve. And it was because I read a book by Tara Moore called Plain Big. I don't know if you're familiar with this book. I actually have it. It's actually right behind me. That wasn't planned. It's just always back there. And it's a book about female leadership and empowerment. But one of the things she mentions in the book is how women, especially, are, we're not taught necessarily, but we are sort of trained to use language that isn't very confident, right? And she calls it limiting language. And that's, since the book has been published, that's what it has been universally accepted as limiting language.
Mm-hmm.
And these are phrases that I still to this day, I mean, I use them every day. We use them all the time. We're not saying that any of the phrases are incorrect. We're saying that there's a time and place, and business probably isn't the time and place for them. So, for example, and some of this is cultural, right? Like when I give this, I literally gave a presentation about this to a group of Canadian wedding planners, and they started laughing because they were like, Renee. So one of the things we talk about a lot is how often we say we're sorry. Right now, Canadians are famous for the very reflexive sorry, right? But when we say that to our clients, even if there's nothing to be sorry for, even if it's the slight is so perceived, right? Like it took you longer than usual to return an email or something minor. If we start our emails with, I'm so sorry, I didn't get back to you right away and it's been an hour, then what we're training them subconsciously is that we've done something wrong in that moment. And the more these add up, these little slights, right? The more they add up subconsciously, we are training our clients how to think about us. And we're putting ourselves in a lower status position just by saying, I'm sorry. Now, of course, when I said this to the Canadians, they were like, that's cultural. And I was like, no, I get it. And I get it with your family and friends. That's one thing. But when you're talking to your clients, instead of saying, I'm so sorry, right? You can always say, thanks for your patience with this. Or you can it's just a different turn of phrase, but it puts the power back on you. Do you have an Australian phrase do you say sorry a lot, or culturally, is that not a thing?
We don't tend to a lot. We usually say, we apologize, or I apologize, but there's other things. Instead of saying you apologize, you say, thank you for understanding.
Yes. That's a good one. That's a good one. Also, so one of the things that came up a lot, so basically what happened when I read this book, and they talked about all these like hedge phrases, all this limiting language, I was like, I'm going to do an exercise. And I went into my business email, and I use Gmail for Business, and there's a search bar. You can search by word. And I just put in the word sorry to see what would come up. And I had like 300 emails where I was just going through and clicking them and trying to see like, what was I apologizing for? Like, was it real? And it was all like, sorry, I didn't get back to you on a Sunday. Sorry, it took me an hour to get back to you. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't have this answer right away. And I just thought, what am I doing? Right. And then, so when I had the evidence, right, that I was doing it, I was like, okay, so this needs to change. Right. And so I just became so aware of my own like choice of words. Another thing I noticed was using the word just. So in my line of work as a wedding planner, I send a ton of emails, and especially right before a wedding, I will email all the vendors and I'll say, hey, take a look at this timeline. Let me know if you have any notes. And what I was sending back then was just sending you the timeline so you can see if you have any notes. Just let me know if you have anything. And it's like, when you say that, or when you say something like just checking in to see if you've got it, when you say that, it really puts you in a position of like just being diminished, And I thought, what would happen if I just took that word out? Right. And so then I would send emails that said, I'm checking in with you to see if you've had a second to look at this timeline. Well, those emails always got answered more directly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I used to use just when I was talking about myself. I am just something. I'm just the mum, or I'm just... It's conditioning, because we're not taught to be assertive as females. We're taught because or aggressive at all. So especially people of our generations, not so much now the newer the younger generations, but previous to that, women were not meant to use language that was even remotely assertive.
Right. And the thing too is, a lot of language we learn as people, we learn from our parents, right? So
absolutely,
as girls, we learn from our mothers. And I realized when I was doing this work for myself that one of the things my mom always said as part of her regular everyday language was, she'd say, well, I'm no expert, but what I think is blah, 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 blah. And she'd do it at work too. And I realized in that moment, like, oh my God, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Like, oh, I'm no expert. So basically don't listen to anything I'm about to say. I'm just about to take up space and take up air. And really, a lot of the times when she was talking, it was something that she had expertise in, but we feel more comfortable saying, well, I'm no expert, but because we want the other person to like affirm that what we're saying is valid and accurate. We don't need it. Just take it out. We don't need it at all. Just goodbye. It's the same with the word actually. Do you have anyone that you work with that does this? I have a DJ who does this. I'll say something about like, oh, well, I think we should start, we'll start the dancing with like the first dance, and he'll go, well, actually, the better idea would be blah, 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 blah. Right. Actually is one of those words too that just kind of sticks in me when someone says actually, or if I found myself doing that. Because I know when I'm the one going like, well, actually, it feels to me like I'm pulling that out because I'm not being heard, right? Or my opinion might not matter so much in this conversation. So I need to like put that qualifier like, well, actually, But if you don't need it, you could just state your opinion. And maybe it feels at first when you start doing this work, it feels very uncomfortable, but it is like a muscle. You just have to keep being really tuned in and aware. But then after a while, what will feel unnatural is the, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm no expert. Oh, just actually, that will start feeling really awkward because you won't be used to it anymore.
And the word but is
I don't like that.
It's not a good word. I've got a friend who's a mindset coach, and the word but is just not in her vocabulary.
No. In fact, it's funny. So when my husband and I first started dating, I was at the beginning of this sort of work for myself, right? So I was really tuned into it. And I would realize a lot of times we would have conversations and his go-to was but. I would say something, he'd go, but, da, da, da. And I'd say, hold on. I need you to know that when you say but to me, it feels like you're about to argue with me. What you really mean is and, because that's how he was using but he meant and, like what he almost always was agreeing with me, right? So I would say, well, I think we should go for Italian. He'd be like, but that place has really good spaghetti. And I'd be like, yeah, you're agreeing. So you want to say and, not but. And then I realized all of his sisters do it too. So it's like in our families, like we learn language from our people. Absolutely. And we almost never question it.
No. Well, why would we? It's,
right.
It's there. It's just what we're taught.
Right. And it feels like, oh, everyone else does this too. And it's like, no, every family has their own, dynamic, has their own way that they talk to one another. It's only when I think we become entrepreneurs that we have to take a good look at ourselves, because I really think like the work that I do as an entrepreneur, like, sure, I plan weddings and I'm an educator and I'm a public speaker and that's my work. But overwhelmingly, like the work of being an entrepreneur is just really knowing myself better, right? And like improving myself and just making sure that I am not letting something go by unexamined, because that's the difference, I think, between those of us who are very successful and those who are still struggling to make that leap and they can't figure out what it is and why. Sometimes it's just these little things, because it's really hard to know how you're perceived. I think you have to have a tremendous amount of self-awareness as an entrepreneur. But if you realize that you're doing any of these things, instead of thinking, well, it doesn't matter, you think, well, could it be powerful if I just tried to change it a little?
Yeah, it's like my copy. I often think that my copy is not quite as it should be. And I read it back, and to me it sounds perfectly fine, but it's how other people read it and interpret it and understand it. It's so it's something that you really have to be mindful of. I think it's just, the spoken word and the written word, you just really need to be careful about how you phrase things, because they can just so be misunderstood or misinterpreted, or by the person who's receiving the message.
Yeah. Are there any other phrases in Australia that I don't know about that are like this? I'm always curious, especially after my Canadian talk. I was like, tell me more.
As I said, a friend of mine, she doesn't use any negative words in her conversations at all. It's just
interesting.
I think it's just because she believes that everything is a vibration. So we're as humans are energy, and if we use negative words, then we're sending out negative energy to the universe, and we won't receive positive vibes. So
Yeah,
that's
she's
her
the
belief.
mindset coach, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, and so that's what she believes, and that, you know, it has merit. She's like into manifesting and all sorts of other things. So, and she's quite successful. I mean, she's, you know, she's no dummy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's
But
also like in that vein, I think the way we talk about what we do is also very important. And in my industry, in wedding planning specifically, there is a terminology called day of coordinator, right? So a wedding planner, you can offer like day of coordination as a service, and some people take on the moniker of like, I am a day of coordinator. And I really, really, really hate that language because it's so minimizing, right? You're saying like, my value is for the day of, which that's so not even true. That's not what that service package is. I actually feel the word coordinator is such a small word as opposed to like planner, like producer, like that's a big word. Coordinator just feels like someone who runs around with like a clipboard. Like that's such a tiny word. And so I always encourage my students and other wedding planners to like really sort of own up, like really live in and speak into like what you do. Like, I don't want anyone to call me a coordinator. No. And
no,
someone said like, well, they would never do that to you. And I'm like, right, because I wouldn't allow it. And it's because of the choice, the very specific conscious choices I'm making in how I talk and how I write and what's on my website and how I name my service packages. And like I said, everything is open to introspection and examination, so that I know what I'm putting out there is received in the way I intend, right? And like you said with your copy, I think so much of the words that we put out there, it's like if you wrote your copy when you were in year one and you haven't changed it, you have to change it because we evolve and the world evolves, and actually language keeps evolving, especially with like slang and trends. There are things that there were words that mean things now that when I was a kid I'd be like, what?
yeah. It was funny because I was born in Canada, and when I came to Australia, I was 12. So some of the words that the kids used at school had different connotations
Oh, I'm
to
sure.
and different meanings. And my God, it was just so confusing to start off with for the first 6 months or so.
Yeah.
They would, say certain phrases to me, and I thought, what does that mean? And so I'd answer yes, and so the next thing I knew, I was pregnant. Oh, what?
I was thinking the other day, because I was in Las Vegas for the last couple of days. I just got back, and I was overhearing someone's conversation at the casino. I was with my business partner and friend, and we were there to organize a conference. So we were very busy and like working with our heads down. But I overheard this mom and this daughter talking, and the daughter was trying to tell her mom that she was like looking great. And she's like, Mom, you're slaying in that outfit. You're slaying. And the mom was like, what? I'm sledding? And the daughter's like, no, you're like slaying. Like, it's so like, you look hot, you look good. And she was like, slaying is murdering someone. And like the fact that the mom was just so not aware of the vernacular and also just so grossed out by the whole thing. She was like, slaying is murder. And the daughter's like, yeah, you're killing it, Mom. And she's like, I don't like this. This is gross. I had never thought about it really, because if you said to me I was slaying, I'd be like, thank you. Cause I'm down with the kids. You know how it is, Rose. I'm on the Twitter. But it was such a funny she was taking it so literally. And I thought, oh yeah, literally slaying does mean murder. So
yeah. So the language now is like, I really try to keep up, but sometimes, and my kids are, in their 30s. So, but even still they say things to me, I think, no, it's not what it means. And I think, oh my God.
I'll go into Urban Dictionary, like
that's it. Yeah. I'll get the modern dictionary with the new language in it. Yeah,
that's right.
It's hard. So I guess we've gone over the words like sorry and whatever, but what other kind of language can business owners change so that they get a better reception from their clients or prospective clients?
So I think when you're talking to prospective clients, I do think it's important to be sort of positive, like your friend, right? I try to avoid saying things like, well, the problem with that is, right? I'd rather say a phrase like, well, the challenging thing with that scenario could be this. And it kind of feels like you're hedging your language, but prospective clients don't have that buy-in with you yet, right? They're still deciding if they trust you. They're still deciding if you're the right person for them, especially when it comes to something like wedding planning, which is like a pretty personal service. I feel like a lot of times when we're dealing with a service-based anything, when we're coming from the perspective of the person that has the knowledge, it's easy to kind of off the cuff be like, well, that won't work, right? But we have to understand that our clients are coming into it from a different perspective. Like they're coming in unaware, right? And so we have to sort of meet them in the middle. And so I do try to use more uplifting. Like I would say, instead of saying like, you need to do this, I'd say, I would encourage you to blah, 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 right? A lot of coaching language when they're in that booking phase. And then once they become clients, I need to figure out how to communicate to them. Like, what are they more receptive to, right? I have a lot of, I don't want to say it's like a male female thing, because I see it across the board, but I do have currently a couple of grooms that are real questioners. So like their way to let me know that they're receiving information is to question me. And I needed to understand that like, that's how they're communicating, because they need affirmation. They're not doing that to me
to be
so I can
rude
get
or anything. Yeah, no.
Right. Like they're not going like, you don't know what you're talking about. They're literally saying like, in order for me to engage this information, I need to ask more questions. And so I had to sort of tune into that as well. Like I don't take anything personally ever as a business owner, because so much of it isn't about us, but about where our clients are coming from when they interact, when they come on this journey with us. So I really try, not to, I don't want to say not be direct, because I am direct, but it's also just sort of kind, like a direct kindness, as opposed to like an actual directness that I would probably use with another vendor. That's like, don't do that ever again. Right? Like
I used to use the word struggle. So, are you struggling with? And
yes.
So then I now change it, are you challenged with? Because I actually got told off by somebody to say, don't use that word, because no one's struggling, they're just challenged.
Well, and I also think like a kind of person who would say, yes, I'm struggling, might not be your ideal client, right? That might be a person who just needs too much help, or, so it is interesting, like what words we use and who we attract. One of the things that this is not really limiting language, but it is a very specific thing. So I work in weddings and I work in Los Angeles, and we have a ton of wealthy people here. There is in the wedding industry, like a lot of people aspire to work with luxury clients. So luxury is a big buzzword, but I'll tell you, my actual true luxury clients would never refer to themselves as luxury, like ever.
Absolutely not. No.
Never. So when I meet a wedding planner from another market, especially someone who comes to me for coaching, and they say, I'm a luxury wedding planner, I think, no, you're not. You're not, because you would never call yourself that, because your clients wouldn't want you to call yourself that, because it's assumed by who you are and who your business is. We can tell if you're luxury. You don't need to tell us. It's the same people who are like, I'm a celebrity wedding planner. I'm like, no, because an actual celebrity wedding planner signs NDAs and we can't talk about those things. So it is it's a language thing where you have to say, like, the client or the student who comes to me and says, I'm a luxury wedding planner, I think, well, you're an aspiring wedding planner. You're aspiring to luxury. Because as soon as you get there, you're taking that out. My wealthiest clients don't want their wealth shown.
No, they don't.
No. And so it's things like that. I think it can be really industry specific. I know my dad is a salesman. He works for Oracle. He works for a huge company. And he always tells me too, like, he has like major clients, like he has like 2 clients and they're multi-million-dollar stuff. And like, when he talks to his people that he sells to, he doesn't really sell. They almost never talk about the actual software. They're talking about all the other things, because that's what makes the relationship. And I think a lot of times when we are we're choosing our language, especially to potential clients, like what we're trying to do is get them to know us, to like us, and to trust us. So we have to use words that endear them in that way. And then once they're your client, then you can get a real temperature on like, what do they need? How do they need to be communicated to? Because everybody's different. Like I get really frustrated because I'm from New York and I like to be fairly direct. If someone just won't get to the point with me, like I can't do it, especially even if it's like an online course and the sales page just rolls on forever and ever. I don't read
that. Isn't that so annoying? I hate it.
I just scroll. I'm like, what is it? What does it cost? When does it start?
Yeah.
I don't know who reads those, because I don't. It's too much.
It is. Yeah, I used to write really long copy. I come from public service in Australia here, and I used to use really fluffy language before I started there, and now I just use it like really to the direct and to the point, and it's not very emotional at all because I used to work for a law enforcement agency, and so we weren't allowed to have emotional language, and you weren't allowed to have any fluff in it, and so I've just continued on from that. And so people say, well, your copy doesn't show any emotion, Rose, and I think, oh God, where do you find that?
I think we have to put ourselves in the shoes of our clients, right? Or the people we're trying to attract. Like right before we got on this, I was writing a sales page for this conference that we're doing. And, I had to put myself in the mindset of like, okay, who are we talking to here? And what, if I were in their shoes, what would I want to hear? And in that case, what we're doing is like an add-on day to a conference to build confidence and get people ready for the conference and like hold their hand through the conference. And so I thought, okay, well, this language has to be really affirming and really positive and really like, you're going to learn things and it's going to be fun and we're going to do it together and you're not alone. And like, I think it seems fluffy, but also like what I'm trying to do is, I think we're all trying to do, even with a simple email, is let our clients know, like, I see you, I understand what you're saying, I receive it, and I'm going to help you. And here's how. And I think we get lost in the just not sorry, blah, blah, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. And and I don't know if this is the right answer, but I'm going to say it anyway. Oh, here's one that I bet everybody here does. Everyone listening does. Have you ever, in an email exchange with a client, had them send you several questions, right? Say they send you a lot, like 10 questions. And you're like, all right. And you email and you're responding and you're typing your little heart out. And then at the end, you say, does this make sense? Here's the problem with does this make sense? Especially when it ends a fairly lengthy email, which it almost always does. When you type out, does this make sense? What you're saying to your client is either I am so inept at communication that everything I've typed is incoherent, or you, client, are too stupid to understand what I just said.
Yeah, not a good ending to a...
Either one is good. Now, what I think happens is when we get to the end of this long email that we spent time doing, we feel a little insecure that maybe we didn't answer all their questions and we don't know what they're going to think. So we think we have to ask. But here's what you should do instead. Do all your work. And at the end, say, I look forward to your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I do the same. I look forward to your reply. I look forward to hearing from you.
Or if I'm being casual, I'll just put thoughts, ? So it's like, I'm inviting your reply, but I am not going to sit here and think, oh, this was incoherent. Clearly, you're too stupid to understand it. And once I realized that that's really the mindset that I was in, like I was feeling insecure about what I had written, and I put that out on them, I was like, oh no, what am I doing? And I will tell you, just making that one change, I know has put me in a more, I'm the boss of this wedding, this sort of mindset to my clients, because they're like, if they don't understand, I know they're going to tell me. They're my clients. I don't need to drill it into their heads that maybe they can't understand it. It's too easy. It's very lazy. Asking them for thoughts means they have to take time to get their own thoughts together, type them out, and respond. So never, ever again, please, if you're listening, say, does that make sense? Just take it right out. We don't need it.
Good point, Renee. Good point. Yeah, but I'm a bit like you. I need to get right to the point. I so don't like roundabout conversations. I just like to, find out the facts, make a decision, and go with it. I just hate all that other stuff that goes with it.
I wish I could, and I haven't done this yet, but in this weird, not really post-pandemic, but sort of getting back to work, every single email I get, and even some that I send, starts with, hey, Renee, hope this email finds you well. Okay, can we skip it? It's not finding me well. I'm crazy. I've been in this house for 18 months. I'm not well, but I am working. So let's move on. Like, I would much rather just be like, hey, Renee, this is what I need. And I know most people would find that very rude. So I never would reply back and be like, you can do away with that first sentence. But it is a very of the moment thing that I'm seeing where like everyone wishes each other well.
Yeah, I've started doing that. And I think, I don't know, just to me, it breaks the ice. It's, before I get into the question, can I have
totally
this?
I'm trying to, and every day when I'm in this like thick of emails, I'm thinking, what else could I say here? That's just like a, hey, it's me again.
Yeah.
Hey, I haven't talked to you in 18 months, but I need something. That's what I
Mm.
probably should say, because that's what it is.
Yes,
Hi.
but yeah, hope it
Fabulous
finds
survived
you well.
COVID. Let's get back to work. Yeah.
Anyway, so have you written any books yourself, Renee?
I have not, because I have no time, but I have a few ideas in me, but it's going to be a little bit. My husband's constantly yelling at me that I should go write a book. And one day I will, I think.
One day you will, you think?
I will.
Okay. And your podcast, how often do you have that out?
We're every Thursday on all the podcast places. The show is called Talk with Renee Dalo. It's meant for business owners. So it's business to business, creative fields. The wedding industry can be pretty insular in that we kind of hear from the same like 20 people all the time. And so what I wanted to do with my show is really like open up that lens a little and talk to people not at all in the wedding industry to sort of bring in new ideas. My industry is a little bit slow to evolve, right? Like we're just getting on the email marketing train right now, most of us. I mean, not me, I've been doing it for a while, but it's like we think like, oh, those things don't work for us, which is
Yes,
bonkers,
yeah.
because of course it would. But I also have a whole other like a secondary business of education. So I have a lot of online courses and PDFs and downloads and stuff. And the podcast really talks a lot about that and like what we're releasing and what we're doing next for education for wedding pros. So
Cool. And you're on nearly all the socials. You've got your website, which is moxiebrideevents.com, and Insta and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter.
all
So
the places.
you're pretty much everywhere. So what can people expect to find on your website?
Well, the Moxie Bride event site is wedding planning. So if you're curious about the weddings I've done and the services we offer, a lot of photos on that site of all the stuff we've done. And then the Renee Dalo site is where we have all the education, the courses, the PDFs, the podcast. So it really depends if you're interested in wedding planning or more education. We have all those things.
Perfectly perfect. Any final words of advice?
I would say just do the little exercise I did. And if you think any of this is relevant for you, go into your own email and just type in some words, type in sorry, type in just, type in, does this make sense? And see how many times it comes up, because I think you'll be surprised. I know I was. And then once you have that in your head that it's a trigger for you, you'll just naturally get used to it. Oh, and also if you use Google Chrome, there's actually a plugin that's called Just Not Sorry, and it's free. And when you're typing emails or any copy, it underlines all the limiting phrases. So you get to choose if it's something you want to keep in there. Because obviously sometimes we are actually sorry, but most of the time we're not. So it's nice to sort of see, and it kind of helps you build that muscle of like training yourself out of it.
Perfect. Just not sorry. All right. I'll go and search that up. Make sure I'm not using any limiting language.
Yay.
Perfect. Renee, thank you so much for your time today. And I will probably talk to you later on in the year.
Love it. Rose, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Talking with the experts.